All right, everyone, how are you? Welcome to this week's episode of our podcast. It's called Is Breakfast Included? Thanks for stopping by. On the show this week, Lisa and I had the pleasure of talking with singer-songwriter, author, artist, and all-around beautiful person, Josh Ritter. Josh took some time out of his day. He was about to start a tour to sit down and discuss, amongst other things, his upbringing, his songwriting, his new album, I Believe in You, My Honeydew, and talk about a little bit about our past, mine and his. It was a lot of fun. Josh is a great person, and we really appreciate him taking the time to do this. Let's check it out. Tell everyone who you are.
My name is Josh Ritter, and I'm a songwriter and singer, and I do other stuff too. I paint and write and stuff, but I mostly just try and have as much fun as I can on stage.
Nice.
And for those who
Or
don't
in
know,
my room giggling.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, I worked for you for quite some time.
Yeah, we go way back.
Yeah, we do. We do go way back. So where did you grow up? Where are you from, Josh?
I grew up in just north of a little town called Moscow, Idaho, in northern Idaho.
Yeah.
And which was a totally beautiful place. I mean, for anybody out there touring, it's about 70 miles south of Coeur d'Alene. So you'll pass through in between Seattle, and you'll pass through my homeland in between Seattle and Minneapolis.
Do you ever make it back there?
Yeah, I'm actually headed back there this week. I'm playing two shows in my hometown, one on the university campus, and then one at the newly refurbished Main Street Theater.
I know.
I'm excited. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I can't believe they still have me back.
Sorry.
Do you come from a musical family?
No, not really. No, they were. It's very interesting, the family relationship to music, because my mom played the flute a little bit in high school, and my dad was into building instruments. He built a harpsichord when they were living in Philadelphia, for instance, and he was into those kind of Renaissance instruments. He had a lute. That was the first thing I learned how to play
Wow.
on, which was not. And then my brother also went. He went to school at a music conservatory and studied like music theory, but like was never like a player. But I, on the other hand, can't read any music, and I'm terrible at with using my hands for anything but making chords and and I can't and I can't play the flute. So well, I feel like we all went in our different directions.
What was the catalyst, man, that made you want to pick up the guitar and write songs and
It was really that hungry feeling you have when you're a kid, where you're just like, I got so much to say or do or offer or whatever, and I just didn't know where to put it. And then one day, I was like rooting around in my parents' closet and found their old record player, and I plugged it in. I was way into the idea of having a sound system, even though I didn't really know what I would listen to. I wasn't a big music listener. I listened to lots of the top 40 on the radio, but then the first record I put on was Nashville Skyline by Bob Dylan, and it was a duet, him and Johnny Cash singing Girl from the North Country. And it was like so fortuitous, because that music was so punk. It was like nothing like I'd heard before. Had like so many like warts, and you could feel like it needed a shave, and it was like one of those things where it just was like so real that it made me feel like it was approachable, because I didn't know who Johnny Cash was really, and I didn't really know who Bob Dylan was. I didn't. They were names, but they weren't like they weren't monumental figures to me when I discovered them. I was just like, oh, there's some dudes who like seem to know how to play guitar enough to like sing a song I like.
Yeah.
I could try that. Yeah.
So they were new. They're basically new artists to you at the time.
They were. Yeah, they were new. Yeah, they were new.
Yeah.
Has your Idaho upbringing ever shaped the stories that you tell in your music?
Always, yeah. I think mostly when I think about it, I guess the upbringing was part of it. There's always a strain of Idaho in the landscapes I imagine when I'm singing. So I know that goes into it. But then also, I was raised in a pretty religious household, and we were raised around a lot of hymns. And hymns are just the bread and butter of so much of our modern conception of songs, you know?
Yeah.
These like four-line stanzas and like and a chorus and like and they're made for everybody to kind of bop along to at the time, you know? You could just bop along to your favorite Martin Luther song, you know? And you know, and I think that that's kind of why why that music immediately made more sense to me than some other types was because it was kind of hymn based.
That's one thing I didn't know about you. You were raised in that, but it makes total sense now after seeing you live so many times from what I say is the best seat in the house. And
Yeah.
you
Mm.
your audiences are like kind of like a congregation.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you get
yeah,
them
you know,
involved, you get them riled up, and then you are very uh you have a lot of energy on stage. Like you have a
yeah.
good time, man.
Well, you have to like, you know, it's like, yeah, I wasn't, you know, I was raised religious. I don't consider myself in any way religious in any like understandable sense to myself anymore. But I do feel that like the the church was a way to like a framework for like performance that I appreciated. I always appreciated a good sermon, you know, because they were so rare, you know. They were usually long and involved metaphors that I thought were terrible and we're just kind of half-ass, you know, but I did like that like but yeah, like all the language of like the religious stuff is so easy to speak in, and it's so useful because so many people understand it. And I do like that kind of like, you know, being on stage is such a metaphor for just the human condition that I feel like it's your job to kind of go through all the emotions on stage, and it kind of frees up people in the crowd to like feel somewhat similar, you know,
Yeah,
even though it's a song, you know,
yeah. I
which is
agree
sort
with
of how it
you.
is in church.
I
Yeah.
I agree with you about the good ones. They stick out. I was raised very religious as well, but
Hmm.
I would go to church on Sunday and feel like whoever I was with told the pastor what I did because
Yeah.
that's what I would get out of whatever his sermon was. I was like, wait a minute, man, I wasn't that bad last night. But
Yeah,
every
right.
now and
He's
then, he,
like, there was a boy named Bernie, and
yeah, yeah,
uh,
he would say, I'm not going to say his name, but it rhymes with Schmurney.
amazing. Yeah, hilarious. That's great. Yeah. But you were saying, so yeah, that you got that like, but yeah,
Yeah,
it does shape us in a lot of ways, that stuff. And it goes into the music, but also kind of goes into the schedule of like my first conception of having like a schedule that would turn into like a job was to like arrive at church, you know, dressed up nice and with you know, we didn't have shine shoes, but at least they were tied,
yeah,
you know. And like and I brought that definitely when I started playing music. That became a more and more a thing that I think I carried over from church, was like you show up to like something that's important, like you meant it, you know,
yeah,
like you mean to be there. And I don't know if I would have had that same conception if I hadn't been raised that way. I'm not sure.
yeah.
But after church, we always just went to Arby's and got barbecue sauce all over everything.
What's the first song that you ever wrote that made you think like, yeah, I can really do this for real?
It's so funny, but it was like the first one, you know? It wasn't like it was not like it was like, it wasn't like I could do it. It was like, yeah, it was like I could do it. You know that
Yeah.
moment in Harry Potter when he realized he can speak the snake language?
Hmm.
You know, the slither tongue. I remember that
Yeah.
from when I was reading it to B. And it was like that. It was like, oh my gosh, like I understand this, but I understand it in a way that I don't think my friends are understanding, or that they're not paying attention to the same things. I don't understand is that's too big a term, but I was hearing stuff in there that I knew my friends weren't hearing. And for me, the things in it were very much like the best representation I could remember from any like movie or anything was in in that series Queen's Gambit. Queen's
Mhm.
Gambit,
Yeah.
and and the girl is like
Sees.
discovered chess, and she's like lying on her back in her bed and moving the characters across the ceiling in her mind. That was how it was with me with syllables. It was like
Wow.
I realized that I would tap out the syllables to every song, and I realized that the syllables were creating patterns. And sometimes I would forget a syllable and I'd have to start all over again. And it was very obsessive compulsive, but it was also much like a realization that there was an inner structure to something that was just truly fascinating to me.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
melodies came kind of natural to you?
Always. They didn't even seem like they were like a thing that I had to make up. They're just something that is, especially because the language has its own. Because I think the rhythm of a phrase of any kind has such a rhythm to it, that like the rhythm kind of suggests the melody almost immediately.
Mm.
Like just like your T-shirt says "Keep on trucking," I just read it as "Keep on trucking." Like it just has it has a feel to it that just makes the melody come right out.
Yeah, got I'm going to keep referring to watching you live because I spent so much time with you. But I remember I would hear songs that you would just pull out that I had never heard before, and I think, man, how is he playing that and singing over that? Because your melodies would go over here, and I was
Oh
always so
yeah.
like amazed by that.
It's so weird, and I also don't. It's also so strange because there are other things that people can do musically. The gamut of our musical talent as humans is so huge because, I can do one thing really easily and yet not be able to read music. Where at the same time, there are people that love music so much that they will go to every show that they can get to they'll fill up their week. And I find that to be a talent in or to,
Yeah,
to love music, or a DJ on the radio who is just like who has the ability to say, I have tastes that I want to share with people, and I'm going to create an experience for them. That to me is also like it's as much about that as it's like somebody playing the music.
yeah,
So I really appreciate that, and I do consider that the concerts are chances for everybody who's good at music in some way to get together, like yourself and me, and anybody who's coming to the show, and yeah,
yeah.
and maybe the bartenders will make some tips.
That's always important.
Yeah.
Um, Growing up in Idaho, you talked to us about coming from a religious family, or going to church a lot. Did
Yeah.
you did any of that, or any of your upbringing in Idaho, the culture, did any of that seep into your songwriting?
I think at the time I like to think that it did. And I grew up at a time in Idaho for a fair portion of Idaho is now as we know, a deep conservative state, deeply, deeply conservative, but conservative in a way that is unrecognizable to me from the conservatism of my early life. And
Mhm.
Idaho had Frank Church, and he had Bora, and most of my early life had a Democratic governor, Cecil Andrus, and there has been a time, and so I think I would say that the democratic virtues that I grew up with and was lucky enough to grow up with involved like a civic education in how our laws work, and where my own individuality fit within like a majority, and how my opinions may not be the ones that every time everybody agrees with, and that's part of being an American is consensus. And I learned all that stuff, and you know l- it is hard to square that Idaho and that set of values that I espoused and felt I shared with my fellow Idahoans. It's hard to
Yeah,
square that now with what I'm seeing.
yeah,
But I do have to say that when I travel home and I do get back to Idaho pretty frequently, that my conception even then doesn't square with the people that I meet, or that are just who are, who feel in some ways that in the similar ways to me about like the terrifying nature of this time.
Yeah.
So I can't say that even my intuition about it is correct, but like I think, but Idaho at the time that I wrote about and that I still write about is nostalgic for us, for a type of time and place that I try and make it clear I know never existed, you
Yeah.
know, and I think that's important because there's no like make America great again if we can't agree on what America even was or is, and that's like and that's where my songs like to be at, is like a place that almost existed,
Right on, man.
and that's Idaho too sometimes.
Do you ever
So
get writer's block when you're trying to write a song, or does it always just kind of flow out of you? Or
oh hell yeah, I get writer's block, but like that's why I had to like pick up like writing books and painting and stuff, is because primarily I'm a songwriter, and like unless and I spend time like writing songs, but I also have to spend a lot of time waiting for them, and I was driving Haley crazy, sitting. I have to get busy doing something, and the painting and the writing books, those help to spend like the time and pass the time and let those ideas marinate so that songs can kind
Mm,
of finally come. I'm
yeah.
not like I record a lot of records, but I don't consider myself as prolific as a lot of people.
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
decide what becomes a song versus what becomes a novel?
Actually, mostly it's I have this feeling like mostly when I have a novel idea, it starts with an idea that I think this would make a great kids book. You know,
Mm,
the one I'm working on right now, I thought this would make a great kids book, and like it got me to pick up the pen, and and now it's 300 pages. It was supposed to be like 30, or less, and so it's really no way to know except that you know I feel like you should be able to tell an entire story in a song, and you should in theory be able to unfold a song into a whole novel if you wanted, because the characters should possess within them enough motivation and stuff to do the things that they're going to do in the song. You could be able to, a strong character, you can have them do anything, if it
yeah.
makes sense to them.
Yeah.
uh, yeah.
Have you ever written a song that was like you wrote it, it was kind of just for you, you're like, I'm gonna put it on the album, and then it becomes like this fan favorite? So
Yeah, yeah. There was, yeah, in fact on my new one, this song called Thunderbird, which was a song that I remember writing actually at the slowdown, on the piano at the slowdown in Omaha,
uh-huh.
and it was and my piano playing Sam, my piano playing friend, he calls it Frankenstein hands. So I was playing like I'm playing the white, I'm just playing C and A minors and G's, and just and just picking them out, and the song came to me as almost like it fit around my Frankenstein playing. It's kind of very bomba dee da, very like that. And I needed a song to kind of learn to play chords on the piano. And so that song kind of came about as my writing it for me. And people seem to like it. And I'm very proud of the song. But there are definitely some where you like write them just for you. And then sometimes I've written songs that are really, really mean, and I think about like releasing them, and I'm like, nah, I don't need to like do that, very mean or blunt, or just angry about something that's like, I am angry about the same things everybody else is angry about right now.
Yeah.
I don't need to be like setting it to music unless I can do it with a little bit more finesse than just honking my horn.
Um, Again, I used to listen to you. You would be in your dressing room or just kind of with a guitar around, and I'd hear a melody, and I'd think to myself, "Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good." And then I wouldn't hear it for a couple of years,
Oh
you know.
yeah.
And then it would be the
Yeah.
full song, and I'd be like, "I knew that," like. it was to
Yeah.
me, it was so amazing watching it progress. When will I be changed? And
Oh
uh,
yeah.
still love you now and then. Those songs I heard them early, you know,
Yeah.
and then when you finally started performing them, I they're just. Do you do you do you keep track? Do you
Yeah.
keep the progress of those songs?
That's funny. Yeah, it's like that's really funny you say because I keep my phone. I mean, what an amazing time that we live in terms of technology. Where like if I have an idea in the grocery store, I can capture it, on my phone, and then so you end up having 10 years worth of voice memos. So I never run out of ideas, because there's always like one little idea that you can like spark something, but but also there are some songs or ideas that you just come back to over and over and over again, over and over and over again. I remember like working on this song back in 1998, uh, and it was a song that I never ended up recording by myself in any like major way, but tried a number of times over the course of like 25 years, and then finally, gave it to Bob Weir for this his Blue Mountain project, and then Bob Dylan heard it and he recorded it. So I never actually even recorded the song before Dylan did. And then like that's like the dream of every songwriter on earth is that Dylan would hear a song he recorded and then record it. He didn't even hear my song. And then before he and so that's my way of saying like songs stick around and the good ideas stick around pretty much. You can count on them to kind of sort of stick around. I sort of it sounds a little bit like when you get a can of spray paint for the first time and you start to shake it and the little ball bearing in there like starts to shake, that great thing, and you're shaking it, and it just that's the same thing with those types of songs. They're just always in there shaking around.
How do you know when a song or a novel is finished? When can you say this is done?
This is really well with novels. It's when I'm absolutely so damn tired of them that I can't I can't imagine ever. Like I sort of feel like it's sort of like when a couple gets married, and you have to do so many things for the couple and the families come together and we fight and we make up and huge amounts of money or like in time you for this couple, and then you like send them away on honeymoon because like they should go on honeymoon and enjoy each other, but mostly because you're sick of them. You don't want to see those guys for a while, and that's how you kind of know but by that time, with a novel, there's so much effort and stuff has gone into the micro adjustment at the end
Mm.
that it becomes a sort of uh, a slow release from the fervor of writing to like doing the fine tuning that's not quite emotional, but with a song just I just know. There's times when I'll play it eventually for people and realize I don't it might be too long, and I take out a verse or something like that. But there's a thing that I remember that somebody said to me once, that like artists know when to lift the brush, and I always try, and that feeling comes very natural to me with songs, and I don't know why that is, because sometimes they should end a lot sooner. Yeah, I'm not
Um,
saying I'm correct. I'm just saying that that's what.
uh,
Yeah.
you've been playing with a few of the same cats your whole career. The Royal City Band, Sam, Zach. You've been with Ray for several years. You have
Yeah.
who's playing guitar now in the Royal City Band?
Rich Hinman. For a while, for a great stretch of time, I was working with Josh Kaufman, and then Josh started up his amazing group, Bonnie Light Horseman, and he's been out on tour doing that, and all his many other um, mad scientific projects, which are so fun. But I'd met Rich Hinman a number of times through Zach and Sam, and Rich is like this. this pedal steel that he plays is so unearthly. It can be a theremin or it can be just a cat fight. You know, it can just be any, and he doesn't he moves between the languages of the songs so beautifully and like and the instant like we started playing together, I totally I totally like thought this I how lucky am I? I hope
Yeah.
I hope I hope I hope I can impress this guy to play with me. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
feeling is so good. It's such a good thing. Because it's
Um,
I definitely don't want to play with anybody who's worse than I do than I am. Mhm. Mhm.
you
Yeah.
have a new album.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I believe in you, my honeydew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, I listened to it right off the bat, man. It's like any Josh Ritter,
Thanks,
you
man.
come out swinging, man.
Thank you.
You won't dig my grave. But
Hell
my
yeah.
favorite song this week is Kutsu Vines.
Oh, killer.
Like
Thank
I can
you.
picture you doing that live. Tell me you're gonna play it live.
Oh hell yeah, that's there was a question whether to put that on the record, and I said no, hell no. I just really love playing it so much. It's so fun to play, you know.
Yeah, I could tell. And that
Stomp around and
yeah,
like
that's a classic Ritter song right there.
yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, dude. Oh, that's a huge compliment. I
Uh,
appreciate that. You
uh,
know that you get, you know, you are with some music where like there's times when you feel like unnaturally like you just gotta stick up for a piece of music. Be like, wait a second, it's just a piece of music, but I'm like sticking up for it. I've been feeling that way about that song, being like, I gotta in my mind, I gotta just like stick up for that song because I really, I don't know why I feel so protective of my little guys. You know what I mean?
um,
Uh,
how long has it taken you to write this album? And were any of these
um.
songs older songs that you had, had for a while?
Well, like you mentioned before, I had a couple of there's both Thunderbird and Noah's Children kind of existed as fragments for several years, but you know, just melodic fragments or melodic fragments or just like a little lyrical tiny bit, and I just would like kind of almost like backstage just strum them through once or twice on a tour, not a very often thing. But then some of them, uh, once when I wrote Truth, which is the third song on the record, I felt like that was like my kind of keystone song, and I was gonna find songs that I'd been working on or write songs that had a feeling like they revolved around that. And that just gave me a feeling like they were all related to each other somehow, like familial.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you have a go ahead. What you gonna
No, 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 go ahead.
you have a tour
yeah.
coming up, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm going. It's starting up. I've got a bunch of stuff up from starting tomorrow up the West Coast, and then all all over the East Coast in November and then onwards in January. So, it's a funny that I'm home most of the time, but this feels like a good agricultural unit of time to go out and like get out in the field. You know what I mean? That feeling of like it's a a sow and a reap and sow sort of feeling. It's
Yeah.
great.
If you weren't a musician, what do you think you would have been? Or was there no other option for you?
I think I would have discovered music, but I feel like all these things were adding up to being some sort of artist of some kind
Mhm.
because and oftentimes I think maybe like our like we don't pay enough attention to the fact that the other skills that artists have are maybe not like they end up as artists for a reason. they're they're not architects, they're not building the thing, maybe they are architects, but like they're not you tend to I find that I would end up in a job where they wouldn't mind a little bit of daydreaming. I don't know what that would be now, I don't know if I go into an office and be like, I just need a little bit of time to daydream, you know? Uh,
How
uh,
about becoming a parent? Has that changed the way that you've approached touring or songwriting or
oh
anything?
hell yeah. It's done
Yeah.
everything, you know. But somebody, you know, your whole world, your first world is obliterated when you have kids. And like and that's like and so you really kind of start off rebuilding anew in this new world. And I found that my biggest worry about having kids would be that I wouldn't have any time to do my writing, and that I wouldn't be able to tour anymore. And you know, to the great credit of my partner Haley, you know, she said, you're always going to tour. That's part of you, you know. So we're just taking that off the table, and we will learn how to do it, you know. But then my the thing that I've done is I've made sure that I never tour more than 2 weeks at a time, and with, you know, large breaks in between, because that's the ecosystem I can do right now when
Mhm.
I have small kids. You know, maybe when they're off at college, I'll get to do like a, you know, round the world tour, and you
Mhm.
know, and we'll just play our way along and eat sandwiches at the grocery store. That'd be so fun, you know. I just can't do it right now, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, kids and and the perspective they bring you in the world is like unmatched and is so psychedelic. I don't recall feeling so psychedelic when I was a kid as these kids clearly are. You know, they're coming up with ideas, and they're seeing the world in different ways, and they're expressing it with language that they made up, you know, and it's
Mhm.
just it's awesome. It's awesome. It's hard, but it's awesome.
Do you ever
Yeah.
revisit old notebooks? Like,
Hell yeah.
really?
Yeah. I'm so and, you know, in fact, one thing I do feel a little bit like not guilty about, but I have a nagging sense about is that like since digital stuff became so easy to use and so useful, there's a period of time when I, you know, don't have notebooks. I have files.
Mhm.
And that's just not as sexy, you know? Yeah, I'm gonna have to print them out and like, you know, weather them, you know, and like, you know, bind them up to make them feel like you know, they were as much work as my fun ass notebooks that I had from back in the day where I was just cramming everything in there. But yeah, and I still go back to them because there's always ideas. Yeah, and the ideas aren't any better or worse. They're just written by kind of a different person, and that's kind of cool. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
especially when
you
you've totally forgotten about them, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
do you ever get nervous before you step on stage, or are you past that now?
I think the feeling that I get is that I remember when I used to be on swim team, and and the first time I ever experienced the feeling that I relate to being on stage is being about to swim. When you're up there on the blocks and you're in the starting position and you're waiting, and it's so quiet, you
Mm.
know, and it's so quiet, and then you dive in, and there's just a rush of sound, and you turn your head to breathe, and you hear people cheering, or you know, cheering you on, or cheering people on, and then you put your head back in and it's quiet. And that's how it is between songs. There's a rush of sound, and then during the songs it's just quiet, and that's how it is. So any nerves I have are really sort of the anticipation of dropping down into the water and swimming as hard as I can.
Oh, that's a really cool metaphor.
Man, you have a
Thanks.
way.
Yeah.
He has a Josh has a way of describing things.
Yeah.
I years ago on a
Ah,
plane, I was going through some rough times, and I remember you just said the right thing at the right time. You said, "Buddy,
oh.
you got to go through the bad to get to the good." Such a simple thing at the time, and I was like, "Yeah, he's fucking right, man." Uh,
Man, I must have been such an asshole. I'm sorry if I,
no,
you
no,
know,
no,
it's
no,
like,
no, no, no. Yeah. No, you weren't an asshole.
you're a good man.
Do you still enjoy touring?
Oh yeah, 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 and it's but the thing that is really changed is that like, you know, when I first began, I was just you know, a beast a beast roaming around, and now I'm 48, and my body needs care, and I need to like take care of it, and like my mental health journey has been long and evolving, and I got that going for me right now, and those things are much more like, like balancing plate or spinning plates. Those
Mhm.
are the things that, like, the show is now something that is just I take for granted. I'm going to have a really good time. I know what to do to prepare. That doesn't bother me so much as like being on the road and like, what I'm going to do, say when we stop talking. I have the day before I fly tomorrow to LA, and I need to make sure that I stay really busy because Josh alone in Salt Lake City on tour without a task is just not the Josh I need to be.
Mhm.
So you know how I feel. You know how that is too. I'm sure, Bernie. You
Oh,
like
I
you.
completely understand, man. What
Yeah,
I understand everything you just said just now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And but I always really appreciated, Bernie, like the way you were able to keep in touch with, you know, so many people on the road, and like, and you with that you were like, that was something that was clearly like such a like a high priority to you that it affected how I like started, to more and more reach out to like, family, you know
Wow.
dead, or and also like when you're in a relationship, and you haven't done it like a serious relationship, you don't know how often it is to reach out, and like how, as a man, I don't know how to like I didn't know how to communicate my like
Yeah.
my wanting to be in touch, and like, and how that related to vulnerability and everything, and you set such a good example for that.
Oh,
Not to
thanks,
like,
man.
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
do you have a favorite? I know you probably can't pick one, but do you have a favorite venue or city that always brings out something special in your shows?
Oh, yeah, yeah, they're always, yeah, but it's funny for different places. It can be completely different things. For Ireland, if I play in Ireland, I'm always gonna walk back after the show through the streets by myself, and try and find a Guinness somewhere, or that enriches the show for me. For like San Francisco, I'm gonna go down to Chinatown, and I'm gonna eat something amazing, and like look for something that I can send to the kids, or but the show itself will be like, have the rich history of like rock and roll and beat poetry, and all that stuff that's in, and the gold rush, those sorts of things that like give each town its flavor. I look
Hmm.
forward to each one of those things, and then sometimes you're lucky and you find a place that you truly love, like Ryan's Deli there in Vernon, Connecticut, and you're like, I'm gonna make this a part of my tradition of being there,
yeah.
every time. Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
Yeah.
funny.
I do remember when I was leaving, I was talking with Zach, and he said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in Vernon, Connecticut." He goes, "Stop by Ryan's Deli, grab a grab some matzo ball soup, and bring it to Josh. He'll love you forever."
That's amazing. You can see him pulling that menu up on the road.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. Well,
So
brother,
good.
man, we appreciate you taking the time today to talk to us.
Dude,
Um,
I
I've
loved it.
always spoke highly of you when people ask me, you were my second real gig,
Ah,
in
yeah,
this
yeah.
crazy business, and I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to go out on the road with.
Oh, the
Um,
the feeling is so mutual. Oh,
well,
so I can't wait to do it again. I can't wait to do it again. I know we
hey,
will. I know we
um,
will.
I do consider you in my top five greatest songwriters.
Oh,
You know,
thank
and
you,
and
Bernie.
I always tell people like when I'm around other roadies and they're like, "Oh, I toured with Dylan, I toured with Petty." I'm always like, "I toured with Ritter." Like, like,
Yeah.
I
Uh,
put you right up there with them, man. And
thank you.
you've always been such a kind soul. You did something extremely generous for me during the pandemic, even though I hadn't worked for you for 3 years. So I'll always remember that.
Oh,
You're a
dude.
very important person in my life, brother.
Same to you, man. I agree. I same to you. I'm just like you're in my pantheon of closest
Uh,
my closest friends on the road, and man, yeah, good. We're lucky. We're lucky dudes.
Lisa's just there. We're sitting here kissing each other's ass.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's
And
great.
Lisa,
I
know.
all those
I
times
feel
we've spent, Lisa,
Oh, I know. They were great.
the bank
We've had some
robberies,
great memories.
the heists.
yeah. I do. No, I feel when I have somebody that means a lot to me, I should tell them then because
Yeah,
I want you to know, man.
hell
Especially in this
yeah.
crazy world we're living in.
Hell yeah, right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Like, yeah, that's exactly right.
But I do want to hear more about these heists that you and Lisa pulled off.
Oh man, so great. The world's third biggest diamond. We're working on the well, well, thank you guys so much, dude.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
our
We have one last question.
our podcast, it's called Is Breakfast Included? And if we were having breakfast, what would you have, Josh?
Oh man, I would have, you know, right now, if we were having breakfast, I would want a wedge salad and a bowl of steel cut oatmeal and a coffee, cream, and a glass of grapefruit juice. And maybe a miso soup. Because I had that once for breakfast. It was really good too.
Okay.
Well,
That's
right on,
different.
man.
Unique.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Good luck on this
Thank
tour.
you.
I hope to
Thanks,
see
Bernie.
you when
Thanks,
you come
Lisa.
through here.
Thank you guys for everything.
But
Yeah,
And thanks
thank
have
for
a
you
great
taking.
again.
day, man, and be safe out there.
All right. You keep on
Bye-bye.
trucking. Bye.
Right on. Josh Ritter. What did I tell you? Amazing human being. Someone I'm very honored to call a dear friend. You can find out more about Josh at joshritter.com. Make sure you pick up his new album, I Believe in You, My Honeydew. Tonight, he'll be performing at St. Mark's Cathedral in Seattle, Washington. Tomorrow, he's at the University of Idaho Admin Auditorium in Moscow, Idaho. And then on Sunday, he's still in Moscow at the Kenworthy Performing Arts Center. If you're anywhere near that, make sure you check it out. While you're online, head on over to isbreakfast.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Rate and review the show at Apple Podcasts. And then mosey on over to our YouTube page. Hit that subscribe and notification button. And hey, you've made it that far. Just pick up a shirt. Pick up a shirt, man. We have 3 different designs. Buy all 3. All right, guys, I want to thank Josh for taking the time to do this, talk to me and Lisa. I'm done. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week.